So we're up to Kapitel Gimel in Sefer Tehillim. Mizmar LeDavid. It was a song of David HaMelech's. Mizmar LeDavid. There's a rule that's brought down in Tehillim. We have some Kapitlach that say Mizmar LeDavid, some Kapitlach that say LeDavid Mizmar. So some put David's name first, some put Mizmar first. So there's a rule brought down that when it says David's name first, it means that first Ruach HaKodesh settled on him, or first he had some kind of divine inspiration, and that caused him to start singing. And when it's Mizmar LeDavid, it's not. It came from him himself, the song. So over here it's Mizmar LeDavid. It was a song of David HaMelech's. Bevarchai mipnei Avshalom benoi, when he was running away from his son Avshalom. So we know that David HaMelech's, so to speak, favorite son was Avshalom. And Avshalom was an Adam Gadol. He was a great person. He was a gifted individual. And he was, so to speak, the heir apparent. And he ended up rebelling against his father. And he rebelled totally to the extent that David HaMelech had to run. And there was a debate amongst Avshalom's advisors what Avshalom should do with David HaMelech if he catches him. Achitophel, who was one of David HaMelech's closest advisors and was actually David HaMelech's Rebbe, Achitophel said, you catch him, kill him. You catch him, you got to kill him. Avshalom, though, had other younger advisors who said, no, you can't kill him, this, that, do something else with him. But you see the totality of his rebellion, that there was at least talk of potentially killing David HaMelech. So this song, David HaMelech composed not after Avshalom's rebellion was quashed. During the rebellion, at the height of the rebellion, Mizmar LeDavid, David HaMelech sang Bevarchai mipnei Avshalom benoi, when he was running away from Avshalom. So this was at the height of the rebellion, and David HaMelech is composing a song. What is the song? Hashem marabu tsaroi. How numerous are my enemies? How many are my enemies? Rabim kamem aloi. Great people are arrayed against me. At least that's how Rashi learns. Rashi says, Hashem marabu tsaroi. That's a reference to how many are my enemies. Marabu, Gimel. I have so many enemies. And then Rabim kamem alai. What does that mean? It doesn't mean many people are arrayed against me, because that would be repetitious. You already said Hashem marabu tsaroi. Rabim kamem alai means, Rashi says, B'nei Adam gedolim b'Torah, gedolim b'chachma, gedolim b'oisher, gedolim b'kaima. The people that are arrayed against me are gedolim b'Torah, Dayaga Adoimi, Achitophel, gedolim b'chachma, gedolim b'oisher, rich, powerful people, gedolim b'kaima, just physically powerful people. Kigain, for instance, Shaul, v'yelidei Arpa, Dayag v'Achitophel. Who were David HaMelech's enemies over his lifespan? Who got up against him? Goliath, right? Goliath was the most powerful of enemies, physically. Shaul HaMelech, right? Doeg Adoimi, Achitophel, Shimei ben Gera. The people that were arrayed against David HaMelech were the greats of the great. So Rabim, David HaMelech says, Rabim Oimrim Lenafshi, many say about my nefesh, about my soul, Ein Yeshua Saloi. There is no salvation to him. David won't be saved. Belikim, by Hashem. David HaMelech thinks he's going to be saved by the Rebbeinu Shalom. No. Rabim Oimrim, the great people have said, Lanafshi, about my neshama, Ein Yeshua Saloi Belikim. He won't be saved by Hashem. There's no salvation to him from Hashem. Selah, forever and ever. Not Nolam Hazeh, not Nolam Haba. What does this mean? This means, like Rashi says, the Bnei Adam G'daylim, the great people that were arrayed against David HaMelech, what they said was David HaMelech doesn't stand a chance. David HaMelech is probably frumkeit. He's acting like he's a good from person. He's a tzaddik. And the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to save him. The Rebbeinu Shalom is not going to save him. After what he did with the Maisa of Bathsheba, right? They suspected him of adultery with a married woman. So after the chet that he did, he's not going to be saved by the Rebbeinu Shalom. Not going to happen. David HaMelech, on the other hand, says, Va'ata Hashem, but you Hashem, Mogen Ba'adi. You are my shield. You're the one who's going to shield and protect me. Kvaidi, you are my honor. Or like some Rishonim say, Kvaidi, you're going to shield my neshama, which is the honor of a person, is really his neshama. Umerim Roishi, and you're the one who allows me to hold my head up high. Now I want to stop here for a moment, as far as translating the psukim. So again, this is a song that David HaMelech is composing while he's running away from his son who's rebelling against him. Now, the Gemara in Brachos says, the last kapitel Beis that we were talking about, we said kapitel Beis talks about the Milchama of Gog uMagog, right? The great war that's going to take place before Mashiach comes. The Gemara in Brachos says, you see that when somebody has somebody in his home, a family member, who goes litarbus ra, who goes off the derech, somebody who goes away from Yiddishkeit, that's worse than Milchemes Gog uMagog. Why? Because the Gemara says, in this kapitel, where David HaMelech is talking about his son that rebelled against him, what does he say? Hashem ma rabu tzaroi. How many are my enemies and how great is my oppression? He didn't say that by Milchemes Gog uMagog. By Milchemes Gog uMagog, in the last kapitel, well, what did he say already? Lama ragshu goyim. Why did the goyim why are the nations making all sorts of tumults? But he didn't say Hashem marabu tzaroi. So you see that when somebody in your own house, chas v'shalom, is yoytzel tarbus ra, goes off the derech, that's worse than Milchemes Gog uMagog. That's what the Gemara in Brachos says. And the truth is, it's not hard to understand that, because Milchemes Gog uMagog has a purpose. Milchemes Gog uMagog is part of the process that's going to usher in the coming of Mashiach. One of the things that have to take place first is Milchemes Gog uMagog. So it's part of a process that leads to something good. When a family member is Yoitzel L'Tarbus Ra, somebody has a son who goes out L'Tarbus Ra, who goes off the derech, who throws off frumkeit, who throws away Yiddishkeit, that's not part of a process that leads to something good. Maybe eventually he'll come back, but this is not part of a process that's spurring on something good. It's a terrible thing. It's a tragedy. So therefore, the Gemara says that you see this is even worse than Milchemes Gog uMagog, which of course brings the natural question: if it's worse than Milchemes Gog uMagog, how do we have Mizmar LeDavid? How do we have that David HaMelech is singing a song? And what kind of song is this? You know, this always reminds me, it's very interesting, the different minhagim and the different, if you will, cultures that we have, even from Yidden, even in Yiddishkeit. I grew up all the years in a Litvish yeshiva, in Yeshiva Staten Island, where on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, there's precious little singing. Very little singing. Everything is not even chazanos, but it's not musical. For instance, you know, on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur we have the piyutim Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimloich Leilam Voed. Right? We say it over and over again. We talk about the malachim, and the malachim are singing yeshiva. So in a lot of shuls they sing it. In yeshiva it's Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimloich Leilam Voed. There's no singing, very little singing. Now, one year when my oldest son was born, he was born a few days before Yom Kippur. So it was hard for my wife to be home alone a whole Yom Kippur. So we went Yom Kippur to my in-laws. My in-laws live in Flatbush, and my shver davens in Chaim Berlin. So I went with my shver to daven in Chaim Berlin. In Chaim Berlin, they sing everything. Everything is singing. They sing everything. Now it comes Yom Kippur.
I mean, it's a different derech, it's still yeshiva.
Yeah, it's a yeshiva, but it's all singing. So they come and they start singing. Oh, what's the piyut? Do you have accessible over here Yom Kippur Matzah?
Yeah.
You have Yom Kippur Matzah here? By night on Yom Kippur in Ma'ariv, we have over here. We have a piyut that we say. Omnam kain. Omnam kain. It is true. Omnam kain. It is unfortunately true. Yetzer soichein banu. The Yetzer Hara, it rules over us. It's true. The Yetzer Hara rules over us. Bach lahatzdeik. So we depend on you, the Rabbeinu Shalom. Only you could be matzdik us. Only you could make us righteous. We have a Yetzer Hara, and unfortunately it's true. Amnam came, Yetzer Soichen Banu. We do have Eris because we have a Yetzer Hara. So Bach lahatzdeik. We count on you, Rabbeinu Shalom, to count us as tzaddikim. You're coming to judge us. We have nothing to say. We have nothing to say. We don't have a leg to stand on. So Bach lahatzdeik, it's up to you to make us righteous. Rav Tzedek, the one who is abundantly just, Rav Tzedek. Va'anenu, and you should answer us, Salachti, I have forgiven. Okay, very poetic. We're telling the Rabbeinu Shalom. Unfortunately, it's true. We have a Yetzer Hara, we do have Eris, we can't deny it. We do have Eris, so what hope do we have? You're coming in Kippur, you're coming to judge us. What hope do we have? Bach lahatzdeik, we count on you to make us tzaddikim, to forgive us and act like we're tzaddikim. Why should you do it? Rav Tzedek, because you have a lot of rachmanos. You're a Rav Tzedek. You have plenty of righteousness. V'aneinu, and therefore we're asking, you should answer us salachti. You should answer, I have forgiven you. Those are the words, and that's what it means. Now, in Yeshiva by us, when we say this piyut on Yom Kippur night, the nusach that they use is Amnam kein yetzer soichein banu Bach lahatzdeik Rav Tzedek va'aneinu salachti. It's very, it's serious, it's moving, it's solemn. I come to Chaim Wilin, and they start singing. Amnam kein yetzer soichein banu Bach lahatzdeik Rav Tzedek va'aneinu salachti. I'm listening to this, and I'm like, especially some of the other ones over here. You know, where you talk about the Averis that you did, and you're singing, and I'm thinking to myself, this is so like right? It's so counterintuitive. I mean, like it sounds almost inappropriate, you know. So I remember I had a big problem with this. I mean, how are you singing? How are you coming to the Rosh Hashanah and you're singing da 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 da? You know, like I did a very risk. Please forgive me. You know, it's like to me it was an oxymoron. It didn't work for me. So over here we have David HaMelech is running away from his son who's rebelling against him. And he's Mizmor LeDavid. He's singing to the Rosh Hashanah. Mamish, Mizmor LeDavid. Now, the part of the capital that I translated is all very, very depressing. I have so many enemies, and all the greatest people are arrayed against me, and they're telling me that I have no hope, that the Rabbeinu Shalom is not going to forgive me. So the Gemara in Brachas asks, Mizmor LeDavid? It's a song for David HaMelech? Kina LeDavid. It should be a kina, like Tisha B'Av. We say kinnis. This should be a song of lamentation. It should be Kina LeDavid. B'varcham ibnei Avshalom b'nai. So the Gemara in Brachas gives an answer, and the truth is that right here on the page, Rashi is bothered by this same problem because it's an obvious problem. So Rashi brings down the answer of the Gemara in Brachas, and Rashi brings down another answer as well. The Gemara in Brachas says that, and it's very interesting. I actually wrote it down, but I forgot to bring it. The Gemara in Brachas says like this. The Gemara in Brachas says, this is like somebody who has a promissory note that comes out against him, right? There's a note, an outstanding note, that you owe the bank $100,000. That's a big tsar. It's a big, you're $100,000 in debt. It weighs on you. Now you finally put together the $100,000, and you're able to pay the $100,000. It's not easy to pay the $100,000, right? It's like, I remember when I sold my house here in town. So I sold my house, and I was closing on my house on Staten Island. In the purchase, I was closing 2 days later. So I closed on the house here. I sold it, and I had in the bank more money than I ever had. I had in the bank. I don't remember, it was $180,000 or whatever it was. So I remember I told Juliet Krumholtz, she helped me with the house. I told Juliet, I said, quick, I'm going out to buy a sports car. The only chance I'll ever have. So it's not, you have all that money, and it's yours for a brief moment in time, and then you got to pay the bank. So to pay the $100,000 is not easy. But once you pay the $100,000, the burden is off your back. Now you're happy because, okay, it's paid. The Medrash on Tehillim takes it a step further. The Medrash on Tehillim says it's like a sharecropper. A sharecropper goes, he works the field, he cuts, he harvests, he has all the grain ready, but he owes the owner of the land. He's only a tenant. Now the owner of the land comes, takes all the grain. And the guy who did all the work, the sharecropper, at the end of the day, he's walking home and he's whistling. Somebody asks him, what are you whistling? You broke your back for months and months and months, and now you come home empty-handed and you're whistling. He says, yeah, I'm whistling because till today I owed the owner, I owed him $100,000. I don't owe him anything anymore. I'm done. The debt is off. What am I going to do tomorrow? I'll figure out what I'm going to do tomorrow, but at least the debt is gone. So the Gemara in Bracha says, David HaMelech, whatever the Avera, and we'll get to that later, whatever the Avera exactly was that he did with Bathsheba, some type of Avera it seems there was there, on some level, and the Rebbeinu Shalom told him, you're going to have to pay. The Rebbeinu Shalom told him, Hineni make him alecha ra, those exact words, Hineni make him alecha ra mitaych peisecha. I'm going to bring evil on you from within your house. So David HaMelech knew that he owes a debt. David HaMelech knew that something has to happen, and it's going to come from within his own household. So the Gemara Bracha says, now the debt was over. Okay, so now Avshalom is rebelling against me. The debt is over. At least I know I paid the debt. But the Gemara continues. The Gemara says, and David HaMelech was afraid, if it's going to come from within my household, who says it's going to be my son? Maybe it's going to be an Eved. That's what happened by the Chashmonaim. The Chashmonaim were wiped out by Avodim, by Canaanim of the Chashmonaim. That's who wiped out the Chashmonai household. So David HaMelech could have been afraid that maybe the rebellion is going to be an Eved. Who says the rebellion is going to be my son? And if it's an Eved, he definitely won't have Rachmanis on me. If it's an Eved, he'll say for sure going to kill me. He's going to wipe out my household if it's an Eved. Now I see it's my son? No. Normally a son has Rachmanis on his father, even if he's going to rebel against him, but ultimately some level of mercy he'll have on me. So it's not as bad as it could be. David HaMelech also brings down, Rashi also brings down that David HaMelech was happy over here because he saw that even though Avshalom was rebelling against him, the other members of his household stuck with him. As when he had to run away, they all came with him. So that's another reason he was happy. Now, I think it's very important for us to take a hard look at this and learn a very, very, very powerful lesson. There are two different Gemaras. We have the famous Gemara of Nachum Ish Gamzu. Right? We all heard about Nachum Ish Gamzu? Nachum Ish Gamzu was the one in the Gemara who coined the phrase that we use all the time, Gamzu L'Tova. Right? This is also for the good. When did Nachum Ish Gamzu coin that phrase? What was the story? The story was that the Yidden decided that they had to send a bribe to Caesar. So going to Caesar was not a simple thing. First of all, like the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Al tizvad al rishus. Don't get involved with the government, because whenever you get involved with the government, you don't know what's going to happen. Right? Even for the most mundane thing, you don't know if it's going to end well. So sending a bribe, sending a gift to Caesar, you got to be careful who you send. Whoever you send's got to be a smart fellow to comport himself properly. If they ask him questions, he's got to say the right thing at the right time. So they said, who should we send? Who did they decide to send? They decided to send Nachum Ish Gamzu. Why did they send Nachum Ish Gamzu? So the Gemara says, not because he was the smartest, not because he was the quickest on his feet, not because he was the most polished, not because he was an askin, not because he had good connections, not because he was handsome. They sent Nachum Ish Gamzu because he was melumid benisim. They said, this guy, miracles happen to him. Whatever he gets involved, whatever he touches turns to gold. Whatever he touches, he has miracles. Miracles happen with him. So who are we going to send? We're not going to send the smartest guy, because even the smartest guy, if he goes to Caesar, you don't know what's going to happen. We're not going to send the most connected or the most polished or the richest or this or that. We're going to send Nachum Ish Gamzu. He might be a klutz, right? Because the Gemara doesn't say that he was slick, that he was this and that. Maybe he wasn't, and we're going to see Taka wasn't. But miracles happen. So let's send somebody who miracles happen with. So they sent Nachum Ish Gamzu. They gave him a treasure chest, and they filled it with gold and jewels. All right, he took it, he goes on his way, and he had to stay overnight in a hotel. So he goes to the hotel with his treasure chest, and he locks it in the safe. And they broke into his room, and they cleaned out the treasure chest, and they emptied out, they took all the gold and all the jewels, and they put in dirt. Now over here there's a question of the text in the Gemara. There's two different textual versions in the Gemara. It makes more sense the way I'm going to say it. Okay, Nachum Ish Gamzu wakes up in the morning. He goes to take his treasure chest, right? Now, they took out the gold and the jewels, they put in dirt, so it was still heavy, right? So he didn't think to open it and look inside. He took the treasure chest, he went to Caesar. He gets to Caesar, oh, great Caesar, I have a gift for you from the Jews. He gives him the treasure chest. They go, they open the treasure chest, it's full of dirt. Caesar looks at it, he says, it's full of dirt. So they decided they're going to kill out all the Jews. Now, they looked, it's full of dirt. What did Nachum Ish Gamzu say? No. Nachum Ish Gamzu didn't say, Caesar, I don't know what happened. I had gold and jewels, somebody must have robbed me. Nachum Ish Gamzu said one thing. Gamzu l'tova. He said, Gamzu l'tova. It's also good. They took him, they locked him up. All right. Eliyahu Hanavi came. And Eliyahu Hanavi appeared as one of Caesar's advisors. And he looked at Caesar and he said, the Jews aren't stupid. I mean, they wouldn't just bring you a treasure chest full of dirt. Maybe this dirt is the dirt of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu had dirt that when he took a handful of dirt and he threw it, all of the dirt turned into swords, and it went and he killed out all his enemies. So maybe this is Avram Avinu's dirt. Now, they were bigger maminim. I always say the enemies of Klal Yisrael in those days, in some ways, were unfortunately bigger maminim than we are. Because Caesar didn't laugh. When Eliyahu Hanavi said, maybe it's Avram Avinu's dirt, Caesar didn't laugh and say, what are you, crazy?
Said this straight to Caesar or to Nachum Ish Gamzu?
No, to Caesar.
Oh.
Yeah. So Caesar didn't laugh. Caesar said, you know what, you might be right. Maybe it is Avram Avinu's dirt. So it says, what did he do? He had one Medina, there was one country that he couldn't conquer. So he took the dirt, and he gave it to the legions, and he said, go use this dirt, and go conquer that country. Let's see if it works. So they took it, and they went to war, and they took it, and they threw it, and turned to swords, and they conquered the last country that Caesar couldn't conquer. So they came back, they let Nachum Ish Gamzu out of jail, and they gave him the treasure chest. They filled it up with gold and jewels, and they gave Nachum Ish Gamzu the gold and jewels, and they sent him with great honor and everything else. So now Nachum Ish Gamzu is on the way home, and he stops in the same hotel that he stopped on the way to Caesar. The people who robbed him last time, they see him come with royal guards and honor and everything else, and they ask him, well, what did you bring to Caesar that he sent you back with such honor? So Nachum Ish Gamzu said, I brought Caesar whatever I got here, whatever I got from here, whatever I brought from here, that's what I brought Caesar. So these guys said, hey, wait a second. Sounds like a plan. We also want to get royal honor. So it says they went home, they destroyed their houses, they took the rubble from the houses, they put it into treasure chests, and they went to Caesar, and they said, we're bringing you more of the same stuff that Nachum ish Gamzu brought you. So Caesar said, oh, okay. He took it, and he tested it, and it was dirt. So he killed them. That's the story that the Gemara brings. That's the story with Nachum ish Gamzu. Then there's another Gemara. There's a Gemara with Rabbi Akiva. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware, we say Gamzu l'taiva, but there's another thing that we say also. Kol man da'avad rachmana, whatever the Rebbeinu Shalom does, l'tav avad. He does for good. That's another Gemara. That's a Gemara with Rabbi Akiva. Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva went to a town, and he had with him a chicken, a candle, and a donkey. And he was traveling on the road. He came to the town, and he had to stay overnight. He looked for a place to stay. Nobody gave him a place to stay. He doesn't have a place to stay. He's got to sleep outside. He goes to sleep outside. He's got a chicken, a candle, and a donkey. Wind comes, blows out the candle. An animal comes, a wolf comes, eats the chicken. And I forgot what happened to the donkey. And the donkey also got killed. So now he's got no donkey, he's got no chicken, he's got no fire. Rabbi Akiva said, Kol man David Rachman l'tav avad. Whatever the Rebbeinu Shalom does is for the good. That night, a pogrom came, and they wiped out the inhabitants of the city, and he survived. Had he had a candle, they would have found him and they would have killed him. Had he had a chicken, and the chicken would have made noise, they would have found him, they would have killed him. Had he had a donkey, and had the donkey made noise, they would have killed him. So the donkey died, the chicken died, and the candle went out. It was all for good. What's the difference between these two Gemaras? Are they the same, or are they not the same?
Not the same.
They're not the same. The difference between the two Gemaras is, and this is what my Rebbe always said, Rebbe Reuben always said, the difference between these two Gemaras is that by Nachum ish Gamzu, nothing bad ever happened. By Nachum ish Gamzu, he never had a problem. Nachum ish Gamzu left with a treasure chest full of gold and jewels. He didn't even know that he was robbed. What happened? He came to Caesar, they opened it up, it's dirt. He saw dirt, he said, Gamzu l'taiva, it's also good. Everything is good. I don't have a problem. This is also going to be good. Gamzu l'taiva. Turned out it was good. It turned out that it was Avraham Avinu's dirt, and everybody lived happily ever after. By Rabbi Akiva suffered. By Rabbi Akiva, he didn't have a place to stay overnight, so he had to sleep outside. That wasn't pleasant. He had a candle, his candle blew out, now it's dark. He's in the dark, he can't do anything, he can't see anything, he can't function. He lost his chicken, I don't have a chicken anymore. He lost his donkey, I don't have a way to travel anymore. So by Rabbi Akiva, bad things happened. Rabbi Akiva said it doesn't matter if bad things happen. Because kol man da'avad rachmana, whatever the Rebbeinu Shalom does, even if I'm suffering, even if I am suffering, whatever the Rebbeinu Shalom does, l'tav avad, whatever it is, ultimately it's for good. And ultimately it was for the good. These are two different approaches for two different things that happen in life. But one thing you see, by Nachum ish Gamzu, the Gemara says that he was malumid benisim. Doesn't say by Rabbi Akiva, I'm not saying that not, but it doesn't say by Rabbi Akiva that Rabbi Akiva was malumid benisim. By Nachum ish Gamzu, the Gemara says Nachum ish Gamzu was malumid benisim.
Yeah, but is it that or just that since everything has come to the Tova, so therefore you couldn't see anything from the sun?
It says he was malumid benisim. He had nisim, these are miracles. Why was Nachum ish Gamzu malumid benisim? I think the reason Nachum ish Gamzu, even though in a way what Rabbi Akiva did was bigger, because I'm suffering, and I'm still saying, Nachum ish Gamzu, you didn't suffer. So you say Gamzu l'taiva, and then it ends up being good. But you didn't suffer, I suffered. But Nachum ish Gamzu was malumid benisim. Why? Because Nachum Ish Gamzu only saw the Tova of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Whatever Nachum Ish Gamzu saw, he only saw good. He knew that the Rebbeinu Shalom is a mative. He knew that the Rebbeinu Shalom does good. That's all the Rebbeinu Shalom does. The Rebbeinu Shalom only does good. That's all he knew, that's all he saw. He wasn't capable of seeing anything else. We'll get to it. He wasn't capable of seeing anything else. He always said, Gamzu l'tova. Whatever happens, Gamzu l'tova. He saw good, 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 good. That's all he saw. So the Rebbeinu Shalom made that he was Melubed Benisim. The Rebbeinu Shalom made that, you know what? By you, you're only going to have good. That's your expectation. You recognize me. You acknowledge me as being only a source of good. You thank me for goodness in everything. So I'm going to treat you with goodness. David HaMelech over here, Mizmar LeDavid Bevarchaim Mipnei Avshalom B'nai. He was running away from his son who's rebelling against him. All David HaMelech was able to see was the good. He looked at it and he said, Baruch Hashem! The Rebbeinu Shalom said, Hineni mekim alecha ra miteich peisecha. I've been walking around that I owe the Rebbeinu Shalom a debt. Baruch Hashem, it's being paid. Not only that, not only is it being paid, but it's being paid by my son. It didn't have to be my son. It could have been an Eved. So Baruch Hashem, stam bra racham alavui. Normally a son has rachmanos on his father. So I'll have more rachmanos than I'm entitled to. I'm not even entitled to that rachmanos. It could have been an Eved. He could have just killed me. Oh, and look, the other members of my household, they're running away with me. Baruch Hashem, everything is good. Everything is roses. Mizmor LeDavid. There's no kina, there's no anything. It's Mizmor LeDavid. Only good. If a person, I brought this with me because I wanted to read it actually. You have over here is a famous Shari Tshuva. The Shari Tshuva says over here, he's talking about how you do tshuva on a chet. Shari Tshuva says like this: Ve'im timta es hachayte telo'a. If somebody did averis, and now after he did an avera, misfortunes happened to him. V'tikra oisai tzara, or nebuchadnezzar comes on the person after he did an avera. V'yatzdik olav es hadin, and he justifies the Rebbeinu Shalom's din. In other words, he says, look, this is happening to me, but I deserve it. I did averis. I deserve it. V'yekabel hamusar ba'ahava, and he accepts the Rebbeinu Shalom's musar with love. Yihi aloi zeh l'mogein min ha'yisurin. This will shield him from further yisurin harabim, haru'uyin lavay love, that are worthy on coming to him. In other words, this person is worthy of having a lot of Yisurim come on him for the Averis that he did. But if the Rebbeinu Shalom starts to give him Yisurim, and he's makabel them ba'ahava, he accepts them with love, then that will shield him from any further Yisurim. Kamoi shenemar, like David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Ki chamas adam toideka, if in a person's suffering he will thank you, she'eris chemais tachgar, the rest of your anger you will sheath. Really, you had more anger to pour on this person. Really, you had more punishment to pour on this person because of his averis. But because you gave him a little and he accepted it, and he thanked you for it, he only saw the good, that will shield him from the rest. And he keeps on going on the same theme, the same thing. He says over and over again, he brings rayas from different psukim. Then he says, V'chein be'inyan ha'hoida al ha'toiva. This is very important. The same is true when it comes to thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom for the good that he does for you. Till now we're talking about thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom for the tzara that he gives you, right? Shari Tshuva is saying, if the Rebbeinu Shalom gives you a tzara, see the good in the tzara. like David HaMelech did. And that will shield you from anything further. But now he says something else. V'chein be'inyan ha'hodah ala tova. When it comes to thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom for the good that he does for you. Nemar, the pasuk says, Oidecha la'olam, I will thank you forever, ki asisa, for the good that you have done. Va'akave shimcha ki toiv, and I will place my hope in your name, which is good, neged chasidecha, amongst the rest of your chasidim. Pirush, what does that mean? Oidecha ala toiva she'asisa imadi, I will thank you for the good that you have done for me. Uba'avur zeh, and because I thank you for the good, akave, I will hope lahasmodas toivascha. Because I thank you for the good that you did, I will now hope that you will continue to do good. What's the Shari Tshuva saying here? The Shari Tshuva is saying here, if you want the Rebbeinu Shalom to shower you with tova, if you want the Rebbeinu Shalom to shower you with good, you have to be careful to constantly thank Hashem for all the good that he does for you all the time. That's what Nachum Ish Gamzu did. You want to know why Nachum Ish Gamzu was Melumid Benisim? Nachum Ish Gamzu was Melumid Benisim because he constantly thanked Hashem, not only for the good that Hashem did for him all the time, even when he saw something that didn't look like it was good, he thanked Hashem for the good, because he realized that everything was good. So because of that, he was Melumid Benisim. Because of that, Hashem went and always did Nisim for him. Look, I heard the Klausberger say, Rebbe say at a tape once, he made a new program. He was announcing a new program for people who learn Shulchan Aruch, Mikhail Yungalite, who are learning Shulchan Aruch and learning Halacha. He's going to give them an extra stipend. So he said, where am I going to get the money from? I don't have the money. I don't have the money. I'm just promising all the Yungalite that if they learn Halacha, I'm going to pay them extra every month. Where am I going to get the money from? I don't have the money. He says, I figure every other time I asked the Rebbeinu Shalom for money, he gave it to me. So why should he stop now? He gave it to me until now. He'll continue to give it to me. And he goes on. He says to Rebbeinu Shalom, he never let me down. Whenever I asked the Rebbeinu Shalom, whatever program, whatever I did, I opened the yeshiva, I opened the koil, I opened the this, I opened the that, whatever I did, the Rebbeinu Shalom always came through. So why should I stop now? He gave it until now. He'll keep on coming through. If you look at the Rebbeinu Shalom at that way, so you know what that means? It means two things. It means when something happens that you're not happy about. I told the doctor, I was out sick, so I went to the doctor. I told the doctor, I said, I'll tell you one thing, the best diet. I was struggling with 10 pounds that I was struggling to take off, like that, all gone. 10 pounds. I lost 10 pounds. 10 pounds gone. Now it didn't stick because some of it is just fluid. Some of it is just water. So that when you get back to yourself, that goes back. But 6-7 pounds I dropped, and like this you struggle. Like this, you want to lose 6-7 pounds, you struggle for 6-7 weeks. You struggle, like this a week. And I wasn't feeling well, but I didn't have to struggle not to eat. You couldn't pay me to eat. I had to leave. At one point, I had to walk out of the house when my wife was cooking. And then, there was one night she sent one of the kids to me with a piece of meat that was in the refrigerator. She wanted to know if it was good. So the kid, my son, comes to me, and I looked at him. I just don't bring it to me. I mean, no matter what she cooked, I couldn't smell it. I had to walk out of the house. But I wasn't tempted to eat. Well, no problem. So if you see the good, like this, I tell people, make an asher yotzar with kavana when you're healthy. Make an asher yotzar with kavana when you're healthy, so that when something's wrong, you don't wake up. Make it when you're healthy. When you're healthy and your body is working the way it's supposed to work. Stop and thank the Rebbeinu Shalom. Thank you so much. The first night when this hit me after Yom Tov, I hate to be crude, but I just want to bring out the point. from 1:30 in the morning to a little after 5, when I finally passed out, I was running to the Beis HaKisei literally every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes. You know, we say in Asher Yotzar, She'im yipaseach echad mehem, if something will open up and won't close, or yisasem echad mehem, or if it'll close up and it won't open, we can't last an hour. You know, diarrhea is the number one cause of infant mortality in the world. Did you know that? Not infant mortality, child mortality. Because in the parts of the world where they have cholera and dysentery and this and that and these diseases, what kills them is ultimately diarrhea. They completely dehydrate and it kills them. So make an Asher Yotzar when you're healthy. Thank the Ribbono Shel Olam for the way everything is working properly when it's working properly. So that the Ribbono Shel Olam should continue making it work properly. And if something happens which to you looks like it's not good, find the good in it. If you can't find the good in it, you can't always. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't find the good in it. If you can't find the good in it, then at least try to look at the Ribbono Shel Olam and say, at least thank you for taking the debt. Obviously, I owe you something. I have a virus. So you're taking it out of me now instead of taking it out of me later.
I would say I don't understand, but I believe. And that, I'm not meant to understand it.
But it's good, right? And it's good. And Ribbono Shel Olam, I know that what you do is good.
It's very different because when something bad happens to me, I don't look at them paying a debt. I look at that Hashem wants me to grow from it. Like there's a whole different outlook.
But they're both true.
Yeah, but
They're both true.
Yeah, but
It's collecting a debt too. We do have errors. We owe. So the Ribbono Shel Olam wants to get it out of us now instead of getting it out of us in the next world.
Does Rabbi keep his attitude faulty because he wasn't thinking upon it?
No. The story.
He could have said, the light bothered me, the donkey was making too much noise, the chicken was making too much noise. He could have enjoyed it.
Yeah, but it wasn't. The chicken wasn't. So he said it's good. He said it's good. But you see here, I'll tell it to you like this. I once had what happened to me once. I lent somebody my car, and he totaled it. So the next morning, I was talking to Ruben, and I said, "Nu, kol man dav rachman l'tava." So Ruben looked at me and said, "Whoa, skamzu l'tava, not kol man dav rachman l'tava." So I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Do you need the car now?" So I said, "No, right now I'm okay." He said, "So you're not hurting? You're not hurting. Don't say, come on, David Rachman L'Tavav is I'm hurting. I am hurting. Kol man David Rachman L'Tavav would be like, or another one. Somebody came to Reb Ruvain, a whole emergency. This guy called me up, an emergency. He needs to speak to Reb Ruvain. So I got him into Reb Ruvain. He comes to Reb Ruvain, and he tells Reb Ruvain, I don't know what I'm going to do. What's the matter? I lost my job. I'm working in the same place over 20 years, and I just lost my job. I don't know what I'm going to do. So Reb Ruvain says, I hear. Reb Ruvain asks him, are you okay? So he says, what do you mean, am I okay? He says, well, next week is the 1st. Are you going to be able to pay your mortgage? Of course I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage. What do you mean? He says, I have money in the bank. Okay. You have enough money in the bank, for the month? He says, I have enough money in the bank for 6 months. So he says, okay, so hold it. So wait a second. What are you panicking? You're coming over here that a terrible thing happened. I don't see a terrible thing. You're not hurting. You're going to live today better than you lived yesterday. Yesterday, you had to run out the door, you had to catch the bus, you had to go to work, you had to deal with your oppressive boss, you came home at the end of the day exhausted, you didn't have time to eat lunch, you didn't have time to learn the daf. Today, you're going to live like a king. Today, you're going to get up when you want, you're going to daven at the later minyan, you're going to go to the daf yomi shir, you're going to ask your wife, what can I do to help? You're going to come home and you're going to be ruhig, you're going to be calm, you're going to be relaxed. You're going to live better today than you lived yesterday. And you don't have any money problems. You tell me you have money for 6 months. So what are you coming to me with problems? You don't got problems. He says, the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing you a favor. When's the last time you took a vacation? Guy says, vacation? I haven't taken vacation in 10 years. He says, okay. So the first thing the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing is he's giving you a vacation. The Rebbeinu Shalom is telling you, take vacation. What are you such a workaholic for? Take vacation. Now, after that, probably you'll find out you're probably going to get a better job now than you ever had before. Like this, you would have stayed in this job for another 10 years. You hated your job. You've been complaining to me for years that you don't like your job. You would have stayed, you're not going to leave, so you would have stayed there for another 10 years. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave you a kick in the pants. He told you drop the crummy job, go on vacation, and now you'll find a new job, and a job that you'll be happy with. So the guy looks at Reuven and he says, I didn't think of it that way. So Reuven told him, that's the difference between Gamzu L'Tova and Kol Man David Rachman L'Tavavad. Gamzu L'Tova is what you should be saying right now. Gamzu L'Tova, this is the best thing on earth. It's the best thing on earth. I never took a vacation. Now I'm going to take a vacation. He got me out of the crummy job. He's going to put me into a new job. You're saying Kol Man David Rachman L'Tavavad. Kol Man David Rachman L'Tavavad is you lose your job. You can't pay the mortgage. Right? Now the bank is calling you every 3 days for money. You got to borrow money to go shopping for Shabbos. So you got to be embarrassed and you got to go borrow. That's Kol Man David Rachman L'Tavavad. You're suffering, but you say to yourself, even if I'm suffering, ultimately it's for the good. But I am suffering. He says, so why are you running to Kol Man David Rachman L'Tavavad? You should be saying Gamzu L'Tova. So the guy looked and he said, Rebbe, I hear. Let me think about it. The guy left. He called Reuven the next day. He said, Rebbe, I thought about it. I bought tickets. I'm going with my wife to Florida for 2 weeks. So Rebbe says, okay, fine. Call me when you get back. Guy goes to Florida. He calls back. He says, Rebbe, you're not going to believe it. He says, what? He said, I came back from Florida, and I have a bunch of messages on my answering machine. One of the messages is an old friend of mine who called me up and he said, listen, I just heard that you're out of a job. I would have never called you because I know you're working in the same place the last 20 plus years. So I would have never called you, but I have an opening. And you're exactly the guy that I need. So if you're out of work, would you please come to work for me? He says, so now I'm working for him. I'm making half again as much as I was making before. I used to commute an hour to work. Now I'm going to work 15 minutes away from my house. And I'm going to get home earlier and everything else. Everything turned up roses.
This reminds me of one of my learning partners. She was working by this, she was a dental hygienist. She worked there for I don't know how many years. Not totally happy, but she worked there. And one of the guys, who was one of the top guys, opened up his own business, but she couldn't go with him because of the conflict of interest. She can't. She gets to a parking lot she went shopping somewhere, some woman in the parking lot starts talking to her for whatever reason, that she happens to be looking for a new dental hygienist, so after a couple of days, she decides she's going to go to her. After 2 weeks, she gets fired because she didn't get along with one of the other workers who's been there full-time.
But now, since she left...
So now she is able to now work for the other guy, which is a much happier and a better position, a better place.
So that's Gamzu L'Tova. And I think what we see from David HaMelech over here is just the importance of constantly trying to see good. To remember, not just trying to see good, to remember that the Rebbeinu Shalom only does good. I'm going to leave you off with what Reuven told me many years ago when I asked Reuven, because this always bothered me. I always say Rav Moshe Zecher Tzaddik Kadosh Livracha was the happiest person I ever met. He was suffering from sciatica. He was in terrible pain. He was happy as a lark. He was always happy. There was never anything about him that wasn't happy. His smile light up the room. And yet, you have to understand that for the last, I don't know how many years of his life, right? If they weren't coming to him with halacha shaylos, what were they coming to him with? Every terrible tzara in Klal Yisrael came to his dining room table, right? This one Nebuch is sick. This one Nebuch has a family member who's sick. This one doesn't have parnasa. This one doesn't have shalom bayis. This one needs a get. This one, this one with kids. This one doesn't have kids. This one, every terrible, heartbreaking, heart-rending tzara in the world came to Rav Moshe's dining room table. It's enough to break a person. You sit there all day and you hear tsaras and tsaras and tsaras and tsaras. So I once asked Rav, I said, how does it not break a person? And he sat there, he sat there and he cried. When somebody sat across the table from him and told him never how he was suffering, he cried. I see the same thing by Reb Ruven. People come to Reb Ruven and they tell him about the tzara. Reb Ruven cries. He says they're crying. But then after they left, he's fine. So he's crying now, and then 5 minutes later, he's fine. He's smiling, everything's fine. I said, how? How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you maintain that year after year after year after year? So Rabbi told me, he says, you believe Kol man da'avad Rachmanu l'tav avad. My father didn't believe Kol man da'avad Rachmanu l'tav avad. My father knew, he lived, he breathed Kol man da'avad Rachmanu l'tav avad. He knew that the Rabbeinu Shalom is a meitiv. The Rabbeinu Shalom only does good. Now, when somebody came to him crying with a tzara, there's a yid sitting across the other side of the table who's suffering. So of course he cried. There's a yid sitting there suffering. He felt every ounce of that suffering. So he cried with him. But when the fellow left, my father knew that ultimately the suffering that person is going through, ultimately it's for the good. So then you could swallow it.
But why didn't he communicate that to the person?
Oh, he did. He did.
But yet he was still crying.
Well, because when a person is crying, you cry with him.
But he did.
You can't just just look at somebody and say, it's all good. It's all good. My wife, my kid, my wife, my husband, my father. Oh, it's good. It's all good. Smile. What do you mean? The guy's sitting there suffering. So you have to be an empath. You empathize with him, and you cry with him, and sometimes you tell him that ultimately it's for the good. Sometimes you can't even communicate it to the person at that point because he's not ready to hear it. You can't tell somebody something he's not ready to hear. Maybe later you can tell it to him, or another time you can tell it to him, or before it happens, you teach them. But when a guy's suffering, you can't do that. But ultimately, it doesn't break you, because ultimately you know that it's good. It's like Reb Ruven says also it's interesting, he says that in Hazinu, the pasuk compares the Torah to rain and to dew. Yaroif kamotar likhi, the Torah should drop like raindrops. Tizal katal imrosi, my words should flow like dew. So Rashi says there's a difference between rain and dew. The world needs both. The world needs rain, the world needs dew. Rain is sometimes very inconvenient. People change their plans because of rain, right? Oh, it's a rain out. No barbecue. No barbecue today. What? Yeah.
Charity had the bike that thought it was supposed to be Sunday.
So rain also makes floods. Rain is sometimes inconvenient. Dew, nobody changes their plans because of dew. So dew, Rashi says, everybody is happy with dew. Dew is never a problem. Comes along Reb Ruven, and Reb Ruven says, that's not really true. So I looked at him, I said, what do you mean? He says, when we go up to camp,
I know, I was about to say.
and you go up to the mountains,
You don't want to step in the dew in the morning.
every morning the grass is wet, right? So you go to Shachris, and you have to walk through the grass, and your shoes are polished, and you walk through the grass, and your shoes are shot. By the time you go to shul and come back to shul, your shoes are all messed up. And after 2 days of this, your pants lose their crease because they're getting wet every morning. So he says the dew is also sometimes inconvenient. So Rebbein said that for a long time, this Rashi bothered him. Like, what do you mean dew is always okay? No, sometimes the dew is also inconvenient. So Ruin said, yeah, but there's a big difference. Like I said, you change your plans because of the rain. Nobody changes their plans because of dew. Rain could make a catastrophe. Look what happened in Baltimore, right? It was in the news, this terrible flooding that they had last week. So rain could make catastrophes. Rain makes you change your plans. Rain could destroy your crop. Dew never makes a catastrophe. Dew could be a little inconvenience. So Reuven said, the outlook that a person has to have on life, a person has to have the outlook that what the Rebbeinu Shalom does, even when the Rebbeinu Shalom Nebuch, for whatever reason, brings a tzara, it should be like dew. It should be with the realization that, yes, it's a tzara. But it's a tzara ultimately, since I know that it's for good. Since I know that ultimately, even if I can't comprehend it, and I can't see it, and I can't reconcile myself to it, but ultimately I know it's good. Because ultimately I know the Rebbeinu Shalom only does good. So we say in Ashrei, B'chol yoim avaracheka. Every day I bench you. Sometimes you have a crummy day, right? But we say in Rashi, B'chol yoim avaracheka. So sometimes I say to myself, you know what? When you say that, even when you're having a lousy day, I had a crummy day. Everything went wrong. I had one day last week. I still wasn't feeling well. Something happened and I had to go out. I got into my car. I drove over the Atterbridge, did what I had to do, came back over the Atterbridge. I'm on the way up. Car dies. And I'm like hoping that it's going to coast over the hill. Because if it coasts over the hill, I can just roll off the bridge. But no, I didn't make it. Didn't make it to the top. So now I'm the guy that's broken down on the Atterbridge that everybody's cursing. Well, this was on Thursday. This was on Thursday, last week Thursday. I broke down on the Atterbridge, and what?
Not during rush hour.
No. It was about 2:00. It was probably about 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I call. So wait, it gets better. I break down. So I take out my cell phone. I dial 911. Nothing happens. I look at my phone, and I have a simple phone. I don't have a smartphone. I dial 911. It's not happening. I look at the screen. It says on it, Android phone app stopped working. I never had this. I'm telling you, looking at my phone, dumbfounded. So I try to shut my phone off. It won't turn off. So I go, I find a dime in my pocket, I unscrew the thing here, take the battery out, put it back in, reset the phone. Now the phone is restarting, and I'm waiting for the phone to restart. Finally it starts working. I call 911, I tell them,
Not a single car stops.
no, actually 4 Yidden stopped for me.
That's about to say.
4 Yidden came, and 1 Yid pulled up behind me and waited until I got hold of the police and this and that. So I got the police, they sent the cop car, the cop came, then the tow truck came, and the whole balagan. And then after that, something else. I still don't know. I shouldn't say it, whatever.
You ran out of gas?
No, my fuel pump went. But anyway, so I went to daven mincha later that day, and what can I tell you? I didn't have a good day. A bunch of things went wrong on that day, and I said, "B'chol yom avaracheka." B'chol yom avaracheka. Right now, I'm not feeling very good, but b'chol yom avaracheka. But you bench the Rebbeinu Shalom every day, even if you don't get to the point where you're all smiles. I wasn't all smiles. I'm not that tzaddik. I'm not.